We'll try and touch base with our colleagues who are speaking to a lot of people on the streets out there who are obviously worried. We've been getting lots of queries on social media, on email as well, to try and understand what happens. Let me welcome in our guests, Gaurav Mashruwala as well as Feroz Aziz, join us on the show. Gaurav, appreciate you being with us. It's a bit of a late night for all of us, but pretty important to quell the panic out there. What's the first message that you would like to send out to the common man, the Aam Aadmi like you and me?
So here, Surabhi, it is that yes, there will be panic, there will be chaos. It will be three stages. One is next 4 to 5 days, we'll see turbulences, people getting stuck, people have no clue what to do with the situation. They have never dealt with it. I mean, something like this happened many, many decades ago, but that's a different situation. So, for example, I'm somewhere outside Mumbai and I don't have enough cash in terms of smaller currency notes to pay my toll money. I don't know what's going to happen, but yes, I have to deal with it. There are a lot of foreigners who will be stuck. That's the immediate. Thereafter, let's look at the valuations and the portfolio, which is long term. We may see markets turbulating and things going up and down, but this is not time to churn your portfolio, churn your investments, live with it, because post today, all historical data, benchmark indices will have to be looked in newer perspectives. So, for example, if Sensex was today S 27 or 28,000, tomorrow is a new beginning for that Sensex. Post 500,000 rupee currency notes. And to that extent, don't panic at all. In longer run, we are going to have a stronger Indian economy. So same Indian rupee will get you much more stuff. And to that extent, a stronger economy is beneficial for overall portfolio and overall growth of economy. So
Sure.
we will see three stages
Sure.
and live with that.
Okay, Feroz, let me bring you in. Good evening. Thanks for joining in. What are the conversations that you've been hearing around you? Because for us, we've been already flooded with queries. People want to know what exactly happens. We've just heard Mr. Chanda Kochar come and clarify that tomorrow, of course, again, an important reiteration. Tomorrow, by the way, banks are shut for all public dealing because tomorrow is the day that banks get rid of the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes and bring in fresh currency notes. And then, therefore, they can start perhaps dispensing at a better pace come Thursday. So, Feroz, first thoughts on the sort of disruption that perhaps lies ahead?
Yeah, I think, Surabhi, like you rightly pointed out, there is panic already on the streets, as you said. But I personally think that the panic would settle down and the panic would be restricted to these 2 days of holiday, to my mind, in terms of the cash availability, because the cash availability is not going to be constrained beyond these 2 days where the banking system is going to be closed. And of course, urban areas will not have so much of trouble, unlike the rural areas, which are not as banked as the urban metros are. So in my opinion, I think the panic would settle down sooner than people expect it to. Because the banking system will pump a different denomination, which I think is acceptable. So secondly, when it comes to impacts on assets, I think there's going to be a huge transformation in how the Indian community looks at real estate and gold, and there will be a huge flight of capital to the more robust assets like equity and debt. Yields would probably soften, and there will be demand for bonds, and gold and real estate will see some turmoil. And of course, rupee should appreciate after
That's an interesting.
so strong.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you've made on real estate, Feroz. We'll come back to that in just a bit. I'll just take some of the queries that we're getting on Twitter as well. We've got Lalit Sanghvi sending us this question. He's saying, how will the stock market react? Well, Lalit, that's really the million-dollar question, isn't it? There's so many factors. There's, of course, this humongous news that's come in. And let's not forget, it's also the night of the US presidential election. So let's wait on that one. But my colleague Priya Sheth is now standing by. I think she has a bunch of people with her who are trying to access some funds at an ATM. Priya, what's happening?
Well, Surabhi, as you did mention earlier, there is a sort of panic here at the ATM. You know, till some time ago, people were asking me questions, but of course, I have with me a few, people who have been at the ATM for some time waiting to withdraw cash. आपका एक सवाल है, आप पूछ दीजिए प्लीज. हमारे पास एक्सपर्ट्स की एक पैनल है.
हाँ, तो मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि हम जालना से मुंबई आए वाले हैं और गए 2 दिन से है और अभी 2 दिन रुकना है, अभी हमारे पास जो करेंसी है, जो चलन है, वो पूरा 500 हज़ार के नोटों में है। तो अभी एटीएम कार्ड भी नहीं साथ में लाए। तो अभी हम यहाँ से जो 500 हज़ार के नोट है वो कल कैसे चला सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमारा जो अकाउंट है वो जालना में है और अभी इधर तो हमें पैसे चाहिए। तो अगर एटीएम भी नहीं है और सिर्फ करेंसी 500 हज़ार के नोट में है तो कल का क्या कर सकते हैं, उसका खर्चने के लिए पैसे कहाँ से लाए।
ठीक है, आपका क्या सवाल है? हमारे पास एक्सपर्ट्स की एक पैनल है।
मेरा भी सवाल यही है कि ये अगर सरकार को ये स्टेप लेना था तो ये एक दिन पहले या कुछ टाइम क्यों नहीं दिया, क्योंकि हम अभी जो रेलवे से सफ़र करते हुए आ रहे तो बीच में हमें पता चल गया कि ये करेंसी बंद हो गई। अभी हमें खाना खाने के लिए बाहर जाना था तो होटल वालों ने 500 हज़ार के नोट लेना वहाँ से बंद कर दिया। तो हमको पहले यहाँ पर एटीएम सेंटर पे आके पैसे निकालना पड़ रहा है अभी, और फिर जाके हम खाना खाएंगे। तो कम से कम एक दिन तो सरकार ने यहाँ पर देना चाहिए था कि ताकि लोगों को कम से कम कुछ पैसे निकाल के वहाँ पर रूटीन में ला सकते थे। ऐसा यहाँ पर एक दिन भी क्यों नहीं दिया?
Right, Surabhi, as you heard, the main queries are really around tourists. Also, they're looking at how really, right? So, if you can get them addressed, they really want to know what experts have to say on this.
Sure. Sure, Priya, we completely understand the concern and the worry that surrounds this big move. Of course, it's in larger national interest. I want to put on record certain clarifications that have come in from the Prime Minister's office. Extremely important. Let's get those graphics up as well. There is a 72-hour exclusion window for certain services. For these services, you will be able to use your 500 rupee and 1000 rupee notes. Now, what are these services? We're talking about government hospitals. We are talking about medicine or chemists as well. So to buy medicines, you can still use these currency notes. Railway ticket booking counters, ticket counters of government buses and airline ticket counters at airports. These counters will still continue to accept the 500 rupee and the 1000 rupee notes for a window of 72 hours. Petrol, diesel and gas stations, which are run by authorized public sector companies, again, they will continue to transact in these currency notes for 72 hours. Consumer cooperative stores, which are authorized by central or state governments. Milk booths and crematoria and burial grounds. So these are certain essential, the most essential of essential services that have been left out of the ambit, but only for the next 72 hours. Gaurav, you want to take up some of the points there? I mean, really, what's the best way out? One is really, pushed against the wall in this situation. I mean, I totally understand. We have some travelers there talking to my colleague Priya, saying that suddenly they find themselves out of cash.
Surabhi, I completely understand. I mentioned my situation, but imagine completely different situation. Here, at least government is saying ATMs will be functional after 2 days, or there are some essential services which has been left out. Imagine if there was a tsunami. Imagine if there was an earthquake. People have faced that. And those, they don't give notices of 24 hours. We are looking at that situation with an exception to essential services, with an exception to banks being open after 2 days. So there is some kind of solace that's coming in. I don't think government can ever afford to give 24 hours or even 12 hours for these kind of news. It has to be with immediate reaction. People will have to go through this. The window of 72 hours will be difficult, but utilize that, and beyond a point, think of a situation that you have faced a natural calamity and deal with it. But this is not an adverse calamity. This is something really, really beneficial for the country. So yes, I understand the plight, but we have to deal with it.
Fair point, Gaurav. Feroz, let's talk about reaction in different asset classes and markets. To start off with, in equities, do you expect any sort of knee-jerk reaction maybe tomorrow at all? And then let's just delve a little deeper on real estate, because this in a way seems to be a forced income disclosure scheme. I mean, we've had voluntary income disclosure schemes in the past. This is pretty much forced. So what happens to real estate values? What happens to transactions perhaps which are in process? People who are right now making part payment to buy a property, what should they be doing?
Correct. I think from the first point which you were making, what's going to happen to the real estate equity markets? I think from the short term, of course, it's going to be demand and supply which will drive the knee-jerk reaction or maybe a positive reaction maybe tomorrow. So I personally think the long-term effect is going to be significantly positive because there is going to be huge flight of capital to equity because real estate as an asset class for the short run would be completely written off to my mind because real estate's black money was the FII for real estate. So I just like equities FII inflow, black money was the FII to real estate, and if that gets evaporated, so then I think there will be equity markets which will rally up in the near term as well. May not be tomorrow or a week's time from now.
Okay, let's address a viewer query. We have Evita Lewis Patrao joining in with a question. Hi, Evita. Welcome to the show. What's your query?
Hi, thank you so much. I have a question. I'm traveling tomorrow night and I have withdrawn money that I was going to exchange into foreign currency tomorrow. So now what do I do?
Okay, twisted situation for sure. We understand that. Gaurav, your interpretation, we're all clutching at straws here right now because we don't have a very detailed fine print available from the RBI. We're expecting that to come through in the next couple of hours. But Gaurav, your interpretation, if someone's withdrawn money and we're looking to convert that to foreign currency tomorrow, I mean, that midnight deadline, will that still apply?
I don't know. We need to see. Does she still have some money left in bank account and she can go and purchase a foreign exchange through check or NEFT or something? Then she should use it. I need to have more clarification as to can she go to a forex dealer. My feeling is there should be some kind of window because what happens to foreigners who are already in this country. In her case, she's an Indian and she knows ways and excuse. But imagine a foreigner who has landed in this country, or somebody who has picked up 500 or 1,000 rupee notes in their country legally and is just going to land post 12 p.m. Sorry, 12 midnight. So that has to be checked. I'm sure there must be some way out, but we need clarification.
All right, Evita, you might want to look at certain online banking transactions or pick up traveler's checks as our experts suggested. Let's go back to Priya. She has some more viewers with questions on their minds. Priya.
Right, run us through both your questions. What really do you want to ask the government and our experts?
Sure. So I think while this decision has been made to pretty much cut off the parallel economy about the black money, I'm not 100% sure how this is going to help in the long run because right now, currently people will face a lot of losses because of, say, they're not going to be able to use the money that they already have. But does that mean that they're not going to be able to do black money transactions in the future? And how often is this procedure going to continue? Or was there a completely different reason behind this decision?
Okay, sir, please tell.
And how this will affect to black money people, like few government agencies will give 1 crore rupees to someone and they will transfer from, take 1 crore rupee, I'll give you, and what he will do, he will transfer the money for them. So that is not going to stop the corruption basically. See, this is basically, they want to try to stop the black money and the corruption both together.
So what is your question to the government?
How it is going to happen?
Okay, Surabhi, you got that. Over to you.
Okay, all right. So more questions coming in. Feroz, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think there's crystal clarity in terms of it being able to take care of all the three issues which it tries to address. One being corruption, black money, and the fake notes. All the three issues will be adequately addressed because it's not just the past black money accumulated, which now needs to come into the system. The fresh notes which are going to be issued are going to have tracking mechanisms, which is going to ensure that any large quantums of notes being transferred from one place to another can be traced by RBI in spite of it having large quantums would be tracked. So I think it will very successfully mitigate all the three objectives which is trying to meet by actually surrendering these 500 and 1,000 rupee notes. So I think it's a fantastic move, and I think it will definitely meet the objective which it's meant for.
Okay, on that note, let's just look at some of the other queries or comments that we've been getting in. Dev Arvind is asking whether retail shops will accept 500 rupee notes. Well, Dev, what we can tell you, and we've confirmed this with the Future Group, Mr. Biani himself saying that till midnight tonight, they are accepting these currency notes till about 11:50. So, well, you have an hour to go if you're looking at shopping at retail stores, at least of the Future Group. There's this question that's coming in from Joyce. How do people abroad exchange the notes? Very, very important and legitimate question. Gaurav, what do you think will the confusion be within some of the NRI fraternity, or perhaps not really NRI, Indians who are right now traveling overseas, because this window is applicable till the 30th of December, after which one will have to approach the RBI directly, from what we understand.
Probably we need to see, are NRIs who are staying outside India holding on to foreign currency or Indian currency? So if they are holding on to Indian currency, there is anyway a restriction, anybody holding on to hard currency beyond a particular point. So if somebody is holding on to it, the person should, if it's legal, should make arrangements to get it deposited, because otherwise, yes, the person is going to have a problem. In terms of foreigners who have already purchased Indian rupees legally and are on their way to India, or who are holding on because they're going to come to India, the way when we go abroad, we pick up dollars or pounds. If they are doing that, I'm sure government would have made some arrangements, let those clarifications come in. I don't think government would have neglected this area at all. There would be some provision. The clarification has to come in as to what that mechanism will be, how it will work. I just mentioned earlier, imagine somebody who's already in a flight, who has left Singapore and is going to land after 12 at midnight and has Indian rupees. I'm sure there is a way out.
All right. Okay, so let's see how the next couple of hours and days unfold. Deepak Chandani, the South Asia and Middle East CEO of Worldline, now joins in. Deepak, you've made a career of observing bank systems, security, the way transactions and payments take place. Huge step by India, you'd say. And more importantly, what's the sort of disruption that you envisage, given the fact that India is an economy that is still largely, transacting in cash?
So, Surabhi, as you know, this is part of the government's ongoing plan to curb black money. They had an SIT in place, and they amended the double taxation avoidance treaty. They had a deal with the Swiss authorities. So this is part of the plan to reduce black money in the economy, which is very laudable. At the same time, also, we know that high value currency notes in India are the ones that are fake notes. And this is one way of cleaning that out as well. So overall, it's a great move to try and address these two major issues that face us. It is certainly going to create disruption. As I just heard the previous guest of yours say, it's going to create disruption for both locals and foreigners. Many industries we know use cash quite extensively. The real estate industry does. They're certainly going to face issues and disruptions in the coming days.
Deepak, of course, a lot of, consumers are complaining. We've even had some political parties come out and make statements saying that, this is too short a window. Would you say that is the case? Should there have been more time perhaps for the prep up? And given your understanding of the Indian banking system right now, do you think that there'll be enough cash available in the coming days that will be dispensed via ATMs and directly at bank counters?
So it will be certainly a challenge because the window is short. It's to the end of the year. And there's going to be lots of money going back into the banks in terms of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, and then coming out in the form of 100 rupee notes. I'm sure the government must have made provision to come out with the new notes fairly quickly. And they'll have to get that operation going really fast in order not to create disruption for consumers. I don't know what the timeline is for the new notes to come out, the new 2,000 rupee and 500 rupee notes, but they'll have to get that out really quickly in large numbers so that disruption is reduced. There will certainly be disruption in the next few days and few weeks till the end of the year.
All right. Thanks, Deepak, for joining in with that quick take. Gaurav, finally coming back to you with some thoughts on real estate, because while the immediate impact is going to be on, how we deal with cash and when the new series of notes starts coming in, but overall, your sense on what happens to real estate transactions, perhaps that might be in the works right now, that might be in process where people have made partial payments, were supposed to make additional payments. And we all know that, a large part of these real estate transactions are still being done through cash.
Absolutely bad luck. I mean, this should not have happened, but there is no alternative. So, and really, I mean, black money transactions usually and unfortunately happen in trust, which is going to be a problem because then the seller would have received money, the purchaser would not have received the property. I don't know what is the solution for black money transaction that has already taken place, or if it's in the half the process. They'll figure out something for themselves. I mean, I have no idea how that will work out. Black money is no more accepted. Government is saying no more. We are not going to accept the currency notes. If you are stuck in between, really bad luck. I know it's a harsh statement that I'm making.
Sure. So,
but that's a fact.
Well, that's what this fight is all about. So, Gaurav and Feroz, I'll end by asking this. If someone is indeed thinking of buying real estate or buying property, should they wait a while? Do you expect prices to come down because of this mammoth move? Gaurav?
My answer is yes, certainly wait, because if prices come down and purchasing power goes up, that's a brilliant situation for any buyer. As far as seller is concerned, he should also not panic, because even if he receives lesser sum of money, the newer investments would also be in a different way. As I said earlier, all benchmarks, prices, indices has to be looked in a different perspective. Post 8 November and pre-8 November benchmarks may not have so much relevance. To that extent, comparison may not be relevant. So it's all new beginning.
Okay, Feroz, last word from you as well. Any advice for those who are looking at either buying or selling real estate?
In my opinion, real estate, of course, is going to go through some degree of challenge. Just from before this move itself, real estate has been going through some challenge. And I think, in my opinion, a couple of years of consolidation in real estate is inevitable. And this actually aggravates the situation. In my opinion, there are about 8 lakh apartments in 5 metros of the country which are unsold. So these will now be sold at significantly lower prices because affordability in terms of white money, accounted money payments is going to come down, and that will bring down prices. And if you look at reports of all the builders' net worths having come down by about 90%, so their holding capacity is lower. So in turn, the prices, to my mind, can anywhere between 20 to 35% fall in metros in residential real estate is inevitable over the next 1 year.
All right, Feroz, thanks so much for joining in. Gaurav, appreciate you being with us as well. That's why we take a break, but do stay tuned because the big story continues to unfold right here on CNBC TV 18.